Buckeye Talk back at the Woody Hayes Athletic Center on Thursday. Ohio State held its fourth practice of the spring here this morning. We got to talk to several players today. Actually, it was pretty enlightening, the number of guys we got. But Carnell Tate and Brandon Inniss, two second-year receivers, guys we have not talked to very much at all since they got on campus. And both guys who had, Carnell Tate had a minimal role last year as a backup that got mixed in later. Brandon Inniss, even more minimal role because he didn't come in the spring last year, so he's I wouldn't say behind schedule, but I guess you could say that based on the way that star players kind of work today in modern football. But both of these guys now are being talked about as maybe projected starters, or certainly guys who are competing for that right. Second year has been the breakthrough year for a lot of guys. Jackson Smith-Njigba broke out in a big way his second year. Garrett Wilson broke out in a big way his second year. Marvin Harrison Jr. broke out in a big way. Emeka Egbuka broke out in a big way. So as you look at it right now, it could happen for both of these guys, I suppose. But which one right now, Steven, do you think is more poised to have that second-year breakthrough?
I think the easy answer, just because he's been here longer and he had a role where Brian Hartline's like, he definitely should be in the rotation, is probably Carnell Tate. But I'm going to paint a picture for you real quickly. 5-star wide receiver, wearing number 11, playing against a Big Ten West opponent. The first thing he does is have a freakish touchdown. The very next year, we're going, I don't know, we got these two NFL wide receivers. He might not be that involved. And then he breaks the record for catches and yards in a season. Hi, Jackson Smith-Njigba, 5-star wide receiver. Year one, the first time we see him flash, touchdown against Big Ten West opponent. This is Purdue this time. Jackson against Nebraska, but this against Purdue. Flashes everything that he is going to be here against Purdue. We don't see him again, and then now it's year two, and we're going, I don't know, Carnell Tate's pretty good. Emeka Egbuka's still here. Jeremiah Smith sticking around and whatnot. I don't know. It might not be Brandon Inniss' time. And then we get to December. It's like Brandon Inniss has like 85 catches for 1,211 yards and like 8 touchdowns or something like that. He's going to be in the slot. And just like Jackson Smith-Njigba forced them to feel like they can take Garrett Wilson out of the slot and move him outside, I think Brandon Inniss has the opportunity to do that. Well, also, he might just be their punt returner. But that slot position every year, but this past year, these last 2 years with Marvin Harrison Jr. and then in 2020 with Chris Olave because he came on strong late, the slot position at Ohio State gets the ball. And he's used to getting the ball and turning it into something. So I'm just wondering, just because of how this offense works, can Brandon Inniss be a guy with 80 catches this year? Just because he's going to get the ball a lot. And as we already saw against Purdue, this is a guy who can do something with the ball when he gets it.
Yeah, I'm intrigued by Brandon Inniss as well. And it actually, to me, isn't anything necessarily – some of it is just his talent. I think he has some good size to him that you don't necessarily recognize either until you're, especially when he stands next to Carnell Tate. Carnell Tate's not a big guy, and it's a guy that probably still has some growth to go there, but it's also maybe just not his physical profile as much either. But it's the Emeka Egbuka-ness of it that makes me wonder if the door could open for Brandon Inniss. Because if they decide that Emeka Egbuka is someone that they want to move around, sort of the way they did with Marvin Harrison Jr. last year, but if you want to make him a little bit more of a positionless receiver, that might hinge the most on how ready you think Brandon Inniss is to play a ton of snaps in the slot and be a productive receiver there. If they get to that point going into this fall where they think that is in the cards for him, then I think that opens up a lot of interesting things for this offense, because that's what makes Emeka Egbuka a little bit more flexible. Because a lot of these other guys, they all sort of say, well, yeah, I've played in the slot. Carnell Tate did it a little bit last year when Emeka Egbuka was hurt. I'm sure Jeremiah Smith could play wherever they want to put him. Jaden Ballard, it doesn't necessarily profile as much for him. There's some other younger guys or guys who haven't had as many opportunities yet who I could get some time there, but obviously Brandon Inniss is the main one who projects as like the long-term next guy in the slot. And if they decide that could be as early as this year, it might just end up being opportunity more than anything else, that there's an opportunity there for him if they're moving Egbuka around, that there isn't at the same time that Carnell Tate is maybe sharing time in a different way with some other people, whether that's Jeremiah Smith coming in and impressing right away with Jaden Ballard. Like, there's some other things that could go on there. So I don't know right now. I mean, I wouldn't put money on either one of these guys like overtaking the other one, and it's all like a very subjective thing that only the media talks about to some extent. But I'm definitely on alert for Brandon Inniss having a very sort of quiet, other really than that blow up that big play at Purdue, having a very quiet first year, coming in a little late. And this is not a new story. We've seen this happen before. You come in the summer, it's a little bit late. I remember Mike Hall doing this for his second year. Came in, didn't really have a great true freshman year, but then it's his second year blow up. Different position, obviously, and it is all, at the end of the day, kind of about opportunity. Where are the reps at? Do you get the opportunity to get on the field? And we're hearing good things about Brandon Inniss. We're seeing good things from Brandon Inniss, and intrigued. Hopefully we get to see it more actually on the field this spring sometime. So we're definitely scheduled to do that a week from Saturday for Student Appreciation Day. We'll see if we get eyes on Ohio State practice before that, and if we do, get the text 614-350-3315, because everything we see and hear, we tell it to you first there from cleveland.com.